You're listening to the Level Flight Podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network.
And welcome back to episode 25 of the Level Flight Podcast. Today I'm joined by just Elliott. Brian has a pretty nasty cold. He was talking to us before. I don't think he'll be able to go today or anytime
a little
soon.
bit of not LTIR, but definitely on IR just for the day.
Like a Mark Stone LTIR situation, he'll come back when it matters, but like for now, it's only game 2, right?
Oh, for sure.
Exactly. No, he's not feeling the best, so he's going to take today off. Just Elliott and I to break down game 1 and 2 of the Jets and Vegas Golden Knights series. Elliott, we're going to start with game 1, which was one of the most impressive games that the Jets have played, I'd say, in 2023, just in general, like against any opponent. They come into Vegas, they win 5-1. They outshoot them. I think it was 30-17 or 31-17 was the final count. Only 2 shots against in the third period. It was honestly the most impressive performance I've seen from the Jets in months. Even when they were winning games down the stretch in that homestand, they weren't playing this well. That was a great game. How did you see that one play out?
I genuinely think that probably was their best game of the season. I mean, I think that was at least up there. They've had some good performances this year, but they just seem to control play, and I just think that was super important, especially like a team like Vegas where they like to play defensive and kind of control how the game goes. The Jets from the jump decided that they were going to dictate how that game went and what pace that they were playing at. I think they did a really good job of minimizing Jack Eichel, at least in game 1. I'd even say in game 2. I know he scored in game 2, and we'll get to that. But I think that the first 2 games, they did really well. And I think the offense in game 1, not just because they put up 5 goals, but the quality of chances and the way that they just seemed to – they were just dominating. It's pretty hard to wrap your head around anything else or say anything else other than just it was really a really good performance where they minimized Vegas and they minimized their I know they're a team and we've talked about it by committee, but they minimized their main offensive scorers, and they brought offense and they brought chances and they capitalized on them, which was huge.
Yeah. And I was listening to a few post-game shows after this, one of them being Game Over Winnipeg, and they all talked about like who were your standout players of the game. I was trying to think of the flip side of that, like players that underperformed in game 1, and I honestly could not come up with one name. Every line
even
was rolling.
Saku made a line in.
Saku, yeah. Well, he chipped in game 2. He had a nice assist as well. He's having a good series so far. But all 4 lines were rolling offensively. Defensively, Neil Pionk had a better game 1 than he did game 2. Sandberg and Schmidt, I posted. I think they had like a 98% expected goals rate. Just unbelievable numbers for a rookie in his first ever NHL playoff game.
Yeah.
But the top line is one thing I really want to talk about because Connor Dubois-Scheifele, in game 2, they were the only line above 50%, but we're focusing on game 1 for now. 50% expected goals percentage. Sorry, I just threw that number out there without any context. Game 1, Pierre-Luc Dubois was a force. He set up Kyle Connor for the opening goal, and then a minute and a half later scored his own. He was setting up Scheifele in good areas all night. He's a big playoff performer, and he's really good at using his size, and Vegas really could not handle him in game 1. How did you like what did you see from game 1 to game 2 that really dropped? Like I wouldn't say that the top line played bad necessarily in game 2, but their production fell off a cliff, right?
Oh, absolutely. They didn't produce as much.
So what do you think the biggest change was?
I think, and it was mentioned before the game, and I saw a couple things afterwards on Twitter. In game 1, I don't think Vegas was playing the Stone line against the Jets top line. And that's what I noticed from looking at a bunch of stats and some other people's comments, and seemed to be on the same page that they were playing the Stone line a little bit more against the first line, which seemed to be kind of not minimizing them. Because when you go to Money Puck and you look at the team's 5-on-5 stats based on lines, the Jets' first line of Connor Dubois-Scheifele was at 1.243 goals for, but didn't score, and they were on
Right.
the ice for a goal against, right?
Right.
So it's kind of hard to say that they really had a bad game. Yes, they were on for a goal against. I think it was more just they couldn't finish chances in this game. I think you look at the heat map and you look at a couple chances that they had. Like Kyle Connor had one of the, if you look at the heat map with the dots, one of the highest scoring chances of the night was a Connor shot that didn't go in.
Right in the crease.
And
It was that nice move in the first period. This is game 2, just so that we're on the same page, right? Yeah, it was the nice move. He goes backhand, and Brossoit robbed him right in the crease. It was
well, he
basically
even has
breakaway.
one. There's one on the right dot. I'm trying to see if it'll let me touch it. Yeah, it was a Kyle Connor shot on goal, even on the right. That one was that was another one that was as big. But even just going back to a game 1, just to say that I think the best part of it, I think that it's kind of difficult to say that they were bad in game 2, like I said, just because I think the stone line was put there in game 2, and that was about that. So there's not much really else you can say about game 1 other than they were good. Stand-up performers. You talked about Dubois. I wanted to highlight Sandberg. You mentioned Sandberg had a good game. I think he had a fantastic game. And I don't, like you said, I don't think there was a bad player in game 1. If you want to transition to game 2, it's probably gonna be a little bit of a different tone. But
yeah, no. Before we do transition to game 2, I want to first touch on probably the biggest storyline from game 1 was the fact that Morgan Barron received 75. The report might have actually been over 75.
I'm hearing 75 plus now, apparently.
Yeah, well,
so
yes, Sean Reynolds was on Winnipeg Sports Talk the next day. He clarified his report. Basically, the 75 stitches that were around Morgan Barron's eye that everyone saw the replay because Sportsnet showed it 500 times. They're micro stitches. So they're not your regular stitches that are huge stitches.
Yeah.
They're like a bunch of little stitches going down because it starts from like his forehead and goes all the way down his eye. So he missed, I think it was 19 minutes of actual game time, and there was an intermission between there. So he missed like over an hour of like real time in the game, and then came back and was actually a really good player. Like again, he first ever career playoff game, and he was great. He was, that third line was great. Adam Lowry had 2 goals.
Yeah.
And they were shutting down Vegas's top players. You talk about Stone and Eichel not looking themselves in game 1. A big part of that was the third line and their ability to shut them down. So props to Morgan Barron.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think props also to the medical staff. I think
medical staff. Yeah.
Getting that done in an hour is pretty insane to me. I know there was probably multiple people working on them at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, it probably wouldn't have just been the head athletic therapist or the trainer or whatever. Right. But still, I think that's pretty important. And we'll probably touch on it after game 2, but I think another storyline was Nikolaj Ehlers not playing. But that's the biggest one from that game that seems to be all over social media is definitely Morgan Barron.
Yeah, and Ehlers not playing didn't prove to be an issue in game 1, but then in game 2 it really did show up. The Barron thing, the Jets athletic trainer, their training staff, whatever, they had practice again in game 2 on the same thing because Hellebuck takes a shot to the mask. I think halfway through the first period.
Yeah, something
mask
like that.
dents his eyebrow. He's got a nasty cut. They put a pretty spotty Band-Aid on it to start. Yeah. I didn't know if that was going to hold, but then the next commercial break, they put glue on it or something. Yeah, and he was good to go. But I thought it was going to be this Barron thing all over again. He's going to have blood. They're going to talk about how he got stitched up, whatever.
Yeah.
Goalies are a bit different because they can't leave for an hour, right? You can't put Dave Riddick in net for an hour and have him stitched up. Obviously, it wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
I digress. Game 2. We'll move on now. We'll end on the Morgan Barron, the high note. Game 2, his eye looked a lot worse. I will say that. Morgan Barron in game 2. His eye is like black now. And then his entire thing is still bloody. Anyways, the Jets had a great first period. I said last night on Game Over Winnipeg that it felt like the 4th period of game 1. They just continued what they were doing. And then everything kind of fell apart in the second period. Not like they were still in it, but like it just, there was a clear change in the way the game was flowing. Vegas was really controlling it from the second and third period on. And I think it had to do with neutral zone play. I rewatched the game this morning, and I picked up on some things on first watch, and then in the rewatch this morning, I really noticed it. But the Jets could not enter the zone cleanly on Vegas's neutral zone forecheck, like for the back 40 minutes of that game. They really struggled. And when you can only dump the puck in, and your only way to gain possession in the offensive zone is to dump it in, hit a guy, steal it, and then you have possession, you're making it way harder on yourself than
you're going to tire yourself out.
Exactly. So that was one of the biggest things for me. I don't know how you saw this game play out, but I think the neutral zone was really a place the Jets struggled. But where do you stand on just the game in general? Where do you think it kind of fell apart after the first period?
It's NBA playoffs time. That means big hoops action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Get in on the excitement of every game with the touch of a button. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Plus, everyone can score a no-sweat same-game parlay every day during the NBA playoffs. Open the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $10. Download the app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Oh, I definitely agree. I think it had to do with the neutral zone. I mean, like you mentioned, Vegas controlled play for the back half of this game, at least the back 40 minutes. And yeah, I think the neutral zone problem had to mostly do with that. And we've seen that throughout this year. A lot of guys can't, like, not that they can't, but they seem to struggle. As soon as a team throws any sort of like neutral zone sort of trap, forecheck, that sort of thing, whatever you want to call it, it seems to be that the Jets just can't figure out their way to either pass through it or make plays to get past it, even just get lucky once in a while. Like, they just can't seem to find a way to like just muddle it through. It has to be dump it in. You got to chase it.
Yeah.
And you're just tiring yourself out. So that's why they look so bad in the last half of the third period, because they've been dumping the puck in and trying to chase after it for the last 35 minutes. That's why everything just blew up at the end and ended up being 5-2. Because I think that game was really closer than 5-2.
Like, I agree. Because if you look at the shot share, the shot quality, whatever analytic you want to look at, the Jets were like even or even arguably better than Vegas in this game, right? And they just ran out of gas, and that's what Vegas does. They tire you down. Their forecheck is relentless, and then when you are your most tired, that's when they take advantage. After icings, Jack Eichel will get a deflection goal. Mark Stone will get a goal off the rush when everyone's gassed. That's what Vegas does, right? And it was really evident in that game.
They definitely played to their strengths, which is what the Jets limited in game one, and that's why they looked so good. Because when you let Vegas play the way that they want to play, it's really hard to stop them from doing that. Like it's very difficult for them to go again. Their game plan, not that it's like the most complicated or the most advanced, but like it's a good game plan, and it plays well to the team's strengths. So it's really difficult for them to try to, get through, and like for the Jets to get through anything when they just like, I'm sure if they had broken down the forecheck a little bit more, because it was a 1-3-1, correct? Kind of a hybrid sort of thing.
Vegas throws so many different looks in the neutral zone. They typically play a 1-2-2, But then when they play really passive, it looks like a 1-4. And then just randomly at times there was a few 1-3-1 looks out of them. So that definitely threw off the Jets defenders when they were trying to exit the zone and stuff. Some people like Winnipeg Chief on Twitter tweeted out, that was a mouthful, that Vegas was running a 1-3-1. And from that point, I was looking for it and I saw it 2 or 3 times. But then when I rewatched the game, Vegas still ran like a 1-2-2 way more often than they did a 1-3-1. It seemed like a 1-3-1 was just like a wrinkle that they just threw in there just to throw the defenders off. And it worked because every time they just threw that in, the Jets had no clue what to do because they can't.
Well, they weren't prepared for it. Yeah. And I don't think Vegas did that in game 1.
No.
It seemed like they stuck to their 1-2-2 the entire game. The Jets figured it out early on because they'd played them, 2-3 times during the regular season.
But early
and early in the year. But either way, you watch film. And you watch film from the recent games, you see what trends teams are doing, right? And so in a game 2, we knew that Vegas was going to make changes. I didn't know if they were going to do stylistic changes, but I mean, hey, if you're going to change team strategy, that's normally the best way to make changes other than lineup, or it's the most simple way is if you just want to change something in practice the day before, or just have a film session and talk about it, right? And so in this game, when they were switching to different forechecks, obviously it's difficult for defenders to figure out, okay, what holes can I try to exploit these forechecks, because I don't even know what they're playing right now. Because last time I'm trying to break the puck out of our defensive zone, it's a 1-2-2, and now it's a 1-3-1, and now we're down 3-2, and they've gone to a 1-4.
Yeah,
right. Like it's different, and then maybe they've gone back to the 1-2-2, right? And then it becomes this mind game that you're having to play. Now, obviously, these guys are professionals, and obviously they're going to struggle, but you would think they not to figure out the patterns, but they kind of, after time, be able to figure stuff out a little bit quicker and try to, make it through the game by trying to at least just figuring it out. But I mean, it is what it is. Vegas, and I will applaud them for that. That was a very smart coaching decision to change some team strategy stuff. Especially, I'm not sure if it was on the fly during the game or if they had a chat.
Yeah.
But still, we knew they were going to come with changes. They made some, and they clearly worked. So if you're the Jets, you got to be prepared for game 3 for them to either do the exact same thing, or if you're a bonus, you're telling your guys, be ready for anything. Because they seem to be just trying to throw anything at us to see if they can shake us.
Yeah. And just to kind of speak to how difficult it is for these defenders, the one constant of all of these neutral zone and ozone forechecks that Vegas runs is that there's a 1 at the top. So when you got to beat that one forward is coming for the puck, right? He's going to hit you. The puck gets dumped into your corner. You're getting hit, and you gotta beat that one forechecker, right? Then when you beat that one forechecker, you don't know if the rest of the forecheck is going to be a 3-1, or all 4 guys are going to be back, or it's going to be 2, like 2-2. If it's going to be 1-2-2, 1-3-1, or 1-4. Yeah, but regardless, you have to beat the first forward. You probably have to take a hit in the process, and then you have to get your eyes up, process what neutral zone they're running, and immediately make a read within like half a second. That's probably overestimating how much time they actually have.
It's probably about a quarter, I would say. Like, just from my own like you and I played basketball, we played against a bunch of different presses. You don't have, like, even at lower levels, you don't have a lot of time to think about.
No.
Like unless you know the team coming in. Yeah. No. Unless you know the team coming in and they don't change it. Like, I can't even imagine if I played against a 1-2-2 press in basketball and then had to change to a 1-3-1 press, and then it's a man press. Like, if they changed it every bunch of possessions, I used to be an inbounder. I would hate that. I'm basically like a defenseman trying to make an outlet pass, like a breakout pass. I would hate that, because it's, okay, well, now I got to figure out who am I throwing this to, because I need to figure out what holes, because normally I would inbound it and then I'm getting it right back. So it's like a D-to-D pass, and I've now got to make a breakout pass. So now I got to figure out, okay, are they in man? Are there 2 guys up ahead? Or do I have 3 in the middle, and I got to try to find a way to lob this over all 3 and throw it to whoever's far deep? Obviously, I know you can't do that in hockey, but it just as an example, like that's difficult. It's not easy.
And you don't have Mark Stone hitting you.
I don't have anybody hitting me. I've got guys running at me to like throw their hands up. But I still have split seconds to make a decision to figure out who can I pass after I get the ball back. Who can I pass to? Now, obviously, there's anticipation involved, but that increases risk of making a decision, which I think led to some Jets mistakes last night, where later in the game they were trying to make anticipated passes because they knew they didn't have much time, and either Vegas made an anticipation to their anticipation, or like Bonus, I think he made mention to it in comments, but other people were saying it on social media, was just the guys were passing stuff into skates. And I think that had to do with anticipation because they're just trying to get the puck off their stick and try to find a way up ice. And they're not really focusing on not passing properly, but passing in front of somebody to their stick blade rather than just to them.
Yeah, and one thing the broadcast praised the Jets for in game one was their ability to chip the puck out.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit of like a you live and you die by it situation, because when I was tracking this game in the neutral zone and rewatching it, there was, I think, 6 or 7 times in just the second period alone where pick your defender. They all do it. They just chip it out unforced. Like there's a guy coming towards them, but there's a better play to be made. But they just chip the puck out because, you want the puck out of the zone. The puck gets chipped out. The Jets lose the battle in the neutral zone and it gets dumped right back in, and you're doing it again. Like
you're on the defensive your entire shift.
It works sometimes when you chip it out and you get a lucky bounce, it bounces over a stick and you're gone and it's a 3-on-2, right? That's a great that works. But then you're kind of just rolling the dice every time you chip the puck out, because there was 3-4 times in a row where DeMello chips the puck out, it gets dumped back in. DeMello chips the puck out, it gets dumped back in. And it that's what Vegas does, is they're just relentless, right? It's something that I don't know if they need to change it, because it worked in game one, right? Like nothing stylistically changed from the Jets' point of view in this game. But they need to counter Vegas's adjustment. This is what playoff series are all about. One team's going to adjust, the next team has to adjust, and it's just going to be back and forth.
Yeah. It's whoever can roll with the most adjustments and figure it out.
And now it's a best of 5, right? These teams split on the road. Elliott, if I had told you before game 1 and 2 that the Jets would come away with a split, how would you be feeling?
I'd be feeling pretty good. And I still feel pretty good. I mean, I mentioned it before the series started. I said that, I was hoping that they would split, because then I felt better about the Jets winning. And I can't remember if I said 6 or 7, but I felt better about the Jets winning the series if they split. And I was expecting them, and I think I said it too last episode. I said I think I expect them to win game 2, not 1. I thought they were going to be the ones making the changes and making the adjustments and coming out and winning game 2 the way they won game 1. But I will take a game 1 win any day. And then I think I feel better about splitting than I would have if we had won game 2, because I'd still feel like we were on our back foot because we had to make the adjustments. We had to make Vegas adjust, which means that I know we were playing into their strengths later in the game, but early on they were still they weren't playing to their strengths still. So I still feel like we have a step ahead, but I would feel great fantastic if we were up 2-0. But
right. Yes, context matters, and the Jets
absolutely.
The Jets were in game 2 and then lost it, so that's why the split doesn't feel as triumphant and yes, we now have home ice in a best of 5 series, right? Because that's what this is now. It's a best of 5, and the Jets have home ice. They have 3 home games. Vegas only has 2, so this is
best case scenario, honestly.
Yeah, you couldn't really ask for much more before the series started than a split against the top seed on the road. The way it happened is kind of demoralizing because the Jets looked great for 4 of the 6th period. They punched them in the mouth. But here we are. It's a split. Vegas adjusted. We're going back to Winnipeg for game 3. It's Saturday at 3:00. Now that it's a best of 5 and the Jets have home ice, what are some things that you're looking for the Jets to, we talked about counter adjustments. We talked about what they need to do. Now that they have this advantage in the series, what are you looking for them to come out and do in game 3?
Well, I'm just hoping that they come out in game 3 like they have in game 1 and 2. It needs to be high energy,
fast start.
It just needs to be a fast start. And we saw it wane off towards the end of the game. Effort. I know guys were getting tired. and they've been in Vegas for a little bit. They probably want to get back home, but obviously you're a professional, you got to finish the job. But I think that coming out with fast starts and coming out with solid starts like they have been, like I have no complaints about the two first periods we've seen from the Jets in the playoffs so far. No complaints at all. I think they've been great. It's trying to complete those. And we have one game where they did complete it and one game where they didn't. So for game 3 to be successful, I think that's one thing. Another would be, obviously, you can't work on this in one day because we're recording this on the Friday. They played tomorrow, Saturday. And obviously it's a travel day. They're not going to practice. They may have an optional skate tomorrow, but you can't just go to practice and an optional skate, work on passing and do all this stuff. So in-game passing probably needs to be better, of course. But So other than, I would say, just passing and they're, like I've said a couple times, they're professionals. They will be able to. I'm hoping they can figure out this forecheck issue and this neutral zone problem that they had in game 2. That's my hope. So that's basically all I've got in terms of strategy and stuff. Obviously, things may change. We may see a wild Nikolaj Ehlers in the lineup for game 3.
Whoa.
That was my only player sort of adjustment, which means the lineup goes back to what it was when they were on a heater. Obviously, game 1, it didn't matter. They didn't need him. But I think they needed him in game 2. So if Vegas throws the same thing at them, they're going to need him in game 3. Yeah. And if he was in full gear, like you said on Twitter around 4 or 5 days ago,
weird. Yeah.
I don't see why he can't play.
Yeah.
And I think they need him. They do. They realistically need him right now, especially going back home. And I'm hoping that's what they were doing. I'm assuming they sat him in game 2 because they were up 1-0. I'm sure if they went down 1-0, I'm sure he would have played in game 2. Yeah. But because they're saying they're being precautionary. But if he thinks he's ready to go, it's the playoffs. You got to play. Yeah. You got all summer to rest and to rehab. If you're at least 80% ready to go, I think you got to play. But I'm obviously not a trainer and I'm not part of the coaching staff, so I don't get to make that decision. That's just my own personal philosophy.
We're not doctors.
Yeah.
We'll
absolutely.
Preface with that. Yeah.
I don't have a PhD. I don't have anything. That's just
right.
We don't really know. Process.
We don't really know what his injury is either because they never really said. Another thing, I found it funny. The Sportsnet broadcast was talking about Mark Stone last night, and near the end they said something along the lines of, what Bruce Cassidy told Mark Stone that when you're cleared to play, you're gonna play, and because they were talking about how much they're using him. Yeah, basically Stone is playing over 20 minutes a night, even though he hasn't played in 3 months. They're running him into the ground, which is. Honestly, he clearly knocked the rust off in game 2 with 2 goals. But I found it funny that Bruce Cassidy told Mark Stone, if you're cleared to play, you're going to go. And then Nikolaj Ehlers, I don't know. Was he cleared to play? He practiced in full in a full contact uniform the day before game 1. Yeah. That seems like he's cleared to go for me. You don't just Perfetti's not cleared to play. And he's in a non-contact jersey, but he's still skating. Yeah. Right. If he was cleared to play, he'd be wearing a contact jersey and playing. Yeah. It just makes absolutely no sense, especially since, like you said, maybe if they went down 1-0, he's more likely to play game 2. But now when we're coming up to Saturday, that will have been 5 or 6 days since he practiced in full.
And spoke to the media and said that he was fine and said, I'm ready. I want to play. I'm ready to go.
So what injury exists where a player can say he's fine, he can practice with no restrictions,
and nobody comments saying that he's behind,
and still can't play for a week? Yeah, that makes no sense whatsoever. So I really hope he plays because we talked about the neutral zone. One way to beat, you talked about passing. Another way to beat neutral zone coverages with speed. Yeah, is with speed. I'm gonna do a thread on Twitter later today on some of the entries the Jets did have that worked. There were some bad ones and there were some good ones. And a theme with all the good ones was they're using their speed. It's Kyle Connor flying down the wing. It's Pierre-Luc Dubois flying down the wing. And they're hitting them in stride with a good pass, like you said. And they're beating the coverage and they're getting ozone time because of it. If you put Nikolaj Ehlers in the lineup, that happens.
He's just honestly, fast. I hate saying this, but he's a free zone entry.
Yeah, he is. That's
like
his whole
90% of the time he's a free zone entry. Obviously, nobody's perfect. Sometimes defenders are going to make great plays and guys are going to take the puck off him or anticipate him trying to speed up and try to stick lift him or whatever. But like he is a free zone entry when he's almost a free zone entry when he's in the lineup. And right now for the power play against this forecheck, they need him. They need it. It's imperative. It's not like he's a fourth line forward or a bottom six. Like yes, will Perfetti help this lineup when he comes back? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I think we need Nikolaj Ehlers more than we do Perfetti. And that's not to diminish Perfetti's ability or anything.
Yeah.
It's just that Ehlers brings something to the team that the rest of the guys don't have. So
yeah, and that to further that second line with Nino on it, really like out of every line, because the third line just dumps the puck in, whatever. The first line actually had some good zone entries with using their speed. The second line really struggled, and that is the line that Ehlers plays on when he's in the lineup, right? And Nemestikov and Wheeler are great when they're in the offensive zone, when they're already there, and Ehlers gets them there. That's his whole thing, is he's zone entry. He's neutral zone. He flies. His nickname is Fly. He flies through the neutral zone. That's his whole thing. He's made a career off of it, and the Jets need that the most. So that's obviously the status of Nikolaj Ehlers is a big thing going into Game 3. Another thing I want to highlight is Connor Hellebuyck has yet to have his, like we keep saying that he's going to
signature game.
Yes, that's going to happen. The Jets are going to get a signature game out of Connor Hellebuyck, and it is
they just have to capitalize on it. But they have to win that game. We can't have and we've had these before. We can't have a signature Connor Hellebuyck game
and lose.
And we lose. Now, he did have a signature save last night in Game 2. That was unreal.
Right.
But we haven't had a game full of those yet, which we're expecting for him to have in the next little bit.
Yeah, he had a great game last night, but it wasn't a signature Connor Hellebuyck performance. It wasn't, it
wasn't a Vezina Buck performance. It was just a Connor Hellebuyck performance.
Yes, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen in this next best of 5. The Jets need to capitalize on it. That's something to watch for in Game 3 and Game 4. Does it happen at home? And again, using the team speed, capitalizing on a Connor Hellebuyck performance. Special teams, we talked about it before this series started. That's something that the Jets have actually been decent at in the first few games. Their penalty kill has been really good. Their power play kind of tailed off in Game 2. Lowry scored the deflection goal, but the top unit didn't really generate much.
And it's without Ehlers.
Without Ehlers, exactly. That the power play misses him a lot. But those are a lot of things to watch for game 3 and 4, but mainly just enjoy it. It's going to be the Winnipeg
Whiteout. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to return for the first time since the pandemic hit. Just have fun. It's going to be fun. Whether you're going to a street party, whether you're watching at home and listening to the crowd, or
you're lucky enough to, if you're lucky enough to get to the game.
Yeah, just enjoy it. What are your thoughts on the Winnipeg Whiteout returning for the first time since
it's fun. It's awesome. I'm excited. It's always a good time. Obviously, as soon as it just made the playoffs, there's merch everywhere. Everyone's selling stuff, whatever. Like it's as much as hockey is a big thing in the city, playoff hockey is always doesn't matter who you are. If you've watched the entire season or you've caught one game or two or whatever. It's always people are watching Jets playoff games, even on the road, but especially when they're at home. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. I will make one prediction before we get into how we think the two games are going to go. This has to do with talking about players. We didn't mention too much. I know he scored in Game 1, but I'm calling it. Kyle Connor looked really good last game.
Yeah,
one of these two games, he's going to have a multi-goal game. I'm not picking which one. But
I like it.
At some point, he's going to have a game where either Game 3 or 4, he's going to have a multi-goal game where either 2 go in or a playoff hat trick would be great too.
That would be nuts. A bunch of white hats getting thrown onto the ice, white Jets hats. Yeah,
that'd be really weird to try to get off the ice.
Yeah, it would.
Try to scrape those up. Yeah.
No, but I agree. He had like 8 shots on goal last night.
And they were all quality shots. None of them were like he got robbed on one. He had a bunch other chances where he probably could have scored.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for one. He scored in game 1, which showed that he's not just going to disappear in this series. And game 2 definitely showed that. So if he can keep, and we need to have him keep that up, because if he disappears again, then our quote unquote one shooting talent is gone.
Exactly.
And that's going to hurt us.
With the matchups too, now shifting to the Jets at home, they are going to control the matchups. They're going to put the Lowry line against the Eichel line or whoever they want to put against them, right? So when there's a high leverage after an icing offensive zone faceoff, Connor Dubois Scheifele is coming over the boards. It's just going to happen, right? And they don't have that luxury on the road. Yeah. So, well, I guess if there's an icing, they could do that anyways. You get what I'm trying to say. When there's a big high leverage offensive zone faceoff against Vegas's fourth line, they have the ability to match that and put the top line out there. That'll give them even more opportunities.
And I think, and I mentioned this last episode, I think playing at home for these guys, lots of these guys love, and the guys that have been here for a while love playing at home. And the guys that have been in the playoffs love playing at home because of the environment. And they feel like they have a sixth man on the ice. So I think that's huge for guys like Connor and Scheifele who have played. Blake Wheeler, I think he may have a little bit of a extra pep in his step, at least in game 3 to begin with, whenever he comes over the boards. Mm-hmm. And guys like Ehlers may have a little bit more, because it seems, I don't know what it is about this crowd. I know that I've lived in this city now my entire life. I don't know what it is about all sports teams. As soon as, and you can make the argument for any city, but I definitely think for this city alone, when guys come here and they get to know the crowd and the fans, I don't know what it is. Whenever they start to cheer, it seems to give them some sort of extra energy.
Oh, yeah,
so
absolutely.
Be prepared for the Jets if they want to continue. They got to do what they did in the first period of both game 1 and 2. I can really see it happening, especially in game 3, at least for the first 5 or so minutes with Canada Life Center rocking. So
the first goal is so important in game 3.
Yeah,
because that is like that building is going to go nuts. Yeah. If they score the first goal in the first period of game 3. But if Vegas scores, then it'll be like, oh, everyone will take a step back. Yeah. Kind of thing. So the first goal is obviously always important, but I think game 3 in particular, for the reasons you said with the crowd, we touched on it a lot in this episode. A lot of things to watch for. We are going to keep doing with the episodes every 2 games. So we'll be back after game 4. But yeah, watch for Kyle Connor. He's been great. Watch for Vegas's neutral zone defense. It's smothering, and must be frustrating as heck for the players to play against. And watch for Connor Hellebuyck. Watch for a signature performance. And most importantly, enjoy these games, because the Winnipeg Whiteout is back. And we have no idea what's
going to happen in the future of this franchise. So
exactly, this core is expiring. We've talked a lot about that. So just enjoy these games while you can. If you don't have anything else, we can wrap up. But
I think that's it. I think it's just let's get her going. Let's do it.
These are going to be the 2 most excited. Like when I wake up on Saturday and Monday, this is the most excited I'm going to be for 2 games this whole year, regardless of what happens in game 3 or whatever. So enjoy these games. From Brian, who's not here, suffering from a cold, Elliott and I, thank you for listening, and we will see you again after game 4. Go Jets.
Go Jets.
You've been listening to the Level Flight Podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network.